Hello everyone and welcome to RYA Connected Live. I'm Lee and I'll be your host for this session. Thank you very much for joining us. In this short session, we'll be updated on important affiliation information and hear from others across our network on the big topics affecting members around the country. Sara Sutcliffe, CEO of the RYA, and Rob Clark, Director of Sport Development, have joined me to explain some of the changes coming our way for clubs and affiliated organisations. We'll also be finding out some of the support available for the challenges we face across our boating community. Please do get involved with the chat function on Facebook and YouTube. It's really easy to get involved. We'd also love you to share your experiences and any top tips that you can share to other people in our community. You can also get in touch at ask@rya.org.uk. So straight into a review of 2024. Sara, thanks for joining me. So what are the big challenges you see facing our clubs and affiliated organisations, and what is the RYA doing about this?
Hi Lee, it's great to be here this evening. I mean, it's just over a year since we launched the new strategy, Together on Water, which is really about setting out a long-term vision for a connected, inspired and inclusive boating and sailing community. And we know that that goes to the heart of our affiliates, who are the organisations and the volunteers and the people who are delivering that experience for so many people. So it's really important that we try and embed this for them. I think there are a number of issues facing our clubs and our volunteers, and we are aware of that. But a couple that stand out for me at the moment, the perennial issue of volunteers. We know that it's harder to run a club these days. We know that affiliates are often finding it difficult to recruit new volunteers or retain the ones they've got. It's a big ask on people, balancing volunteering against their day-to-day life. So we're going to continue to really enhance all the materials we've got. There's a load of workshops in our webinars, the connected conferences. So we're going to really continue to bang the drums about volunteering and help the affiliates, because these affiliates just don't exist without that heartbeat of volunteers to make them work. I think the other big issue we've been hearing a lot about lately is obviously water quality. And this is affecting the country up and down. It's in the news all the time. So there's a lot of good advice on our website, but we're also really proud of the fact that along with 10 other national governing bodies of water sports, we have launched the Clean Water Sports Alliance in the last few months, and we're making really good traction in those campaigns.
That's fantastic. Can you tell me a little bit more about the Clean Water Sports Alliance? What organisations are involved and what are the objectives of that group?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's bringing together both large water sports like rowing and swimming and Paddle UK and ourselves, along with some of the more smaller ones. So there's diving and outrigger and angling, I think. So basically a variety of sports that use water, our blue spaces, and how important it is to all of us and our participants. So the main three asks we've got at the moment of government, effectively, is further and faster action on water pollution. Second of all, better real-time data so that people can make informed choices about which body of water to go on or in. And thirdly, a shift in terminology from bathing waters to recreational waters, again, to demonstrate the breadth of activity that takes place in and on water.
Brilliant. No, fantastic to hear about that. Rob, the same question to you from your perspective. What challenges are you seeing clubs facing, and what's from your directorate, what's the RYA doing about it?
Well, I think our affiliates are facing exactly the same challenges that all of us are in day-to-day life, which is really down to the fact of things cost a bit more money. We have more pressures on our time, more pressures on our finances, and so finding reasons of why to go and engage in your local club, is a really hard thing for people to balance up against their other responsibilities, and that's where we're seeing a return to some of the trends we were seeing before the pandemic hit, with a slight decrease year on year in club membership overall. But that's mostly driven not by the attraction of new people to the sport. There's lots of people coming through the doors of our clubs and our other affiliated organisations on a yearly basis, but it's in the retention of our existing members. And that's a place where we're really looking to put a lot of focus and work.
Fantastic. And where you're seeing you mentioned that the affiliate numbers were dropping in some clubs. What about clubs that are bucking the trend? What have you seen there?
Well, I think that really comes down to the fact that people want to be part of a boating community, and a water-based community for lots of different reasons, and that changes through your life cycle as a sailor or a boater, and depending on where you are, whether you're new to the sport, whether you've got a young family, whether your family's growing older, whether you're an individual sailor or boater who's trying to take part. And I think the clubs who've really identified that and identified the many different ways that people want to partake in being on the water and supported each one of those wherever they can. And they've also really thought about the potential pinch points in those moments, of usage at different times, and tried to manage that. The final bit they've really done is looked at that collective responsibility of leading of these environments, of how, where we have, individuals who carry so much weight in leading the volunteering, as Sara talks about. If you can break those roles down into smaller component parts and get more people involved in being part of the solution, that's where you see things really prosper and thrive.
Thanks for that, Rob. I'd like to take us on to affiliation now, and that's a huge topic linked to those people leading clubs. Sara, when we spoke this time last year, you mentioned some upcoming changes to RYA affiliation. Can you tell us a little bit about what the background to that has been, and why the changes have been required?
I mean, affiliation is the way in which we, I think, have a really strong two-way relationship with our affiliates, and a lot of this is about improving that relationship and creating really strong foundations. So we want to be here to support our affiliates, to give them the tools to be able to deliver the activity that they hold so dear to them and to their participants in a really safe and inclusive way. So this isn't about layers of bureaucracy, this isn't about red tape, this isn't a tick box exercise. This is giving the clubs and the affiliates the tools that, if they get it right, will provide a really strong foundation that will then allow them to actually have the freedom to go and deliver without perhaps finding themselves getting into trouble because they haven't got the right policies and procedures.
No, that's really good to hear. And Rob, can you add a little bit of detail to that in terms of what the tools and the recommendations are as part of that new process?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think the first thing to point out is the fact that this is a journey we're all on together. It's an evolution of how we engage with our affiliates and how we provide the right support that our affiliates want, rather than the thing that we assume is wanted. Yeah, I mean, that's a really, really key part. The thing we're very aware of is that every single affiliate is different. And every single affiliate runs a slightly different activity, or they might support a different group of people. And so providing something that is personalized to them is what's key to us. So our first intention is really understanding the activity that each of our affiliates is delivering and who they're delivering it for, and the processes and systems they've got around supporting that activity and the people doing it. What then comes out the back of that is a set of personalized recommendations, things for them to think about, have a look at. And what we're really seeing is lots of our affiliates come back to us saying, this is really interesting. This is making us think. This is making us review. Now what we need is support to go on the journey together. And that's what we're really here to do. We want to be part of that journey. We want to provide the right resources. But the only way we do that is by interacting, by talking to people, by understanding what their needs are. And that's certainly what we're trying to do.
It's really good to know that that's a bespoke and individualized process. As a great example of that, I spent some time at Hollowell Sailing Club up in the Midlands, and I spoke to their Commodore, James. And I asked him what his initial reactions were to the affiliation changes and what changes their club needed to make.
Firstly, really welcome that. I think we all focus on getting the right safety systems, making sure that we're working correctly. So it was good to see a development and equally support around development of having a welfare officer, having a policy, support around having safe recruitment. And these are the issues that are really important. Parents of children that come to the club, they see the RYA flag, that's the level of expectation they have on safety systems. So yeah, it was a welcome introduction and welcome the support. We're also already in a good position around having a welfare officer and an assistant welfare officer and running safer recruitment and policy. But it did point us to check those, to have a look, to seek some guidance from the safeguarding team in terms of that level of compliance. We equally didn't have a complaints policy, so that was something we looked at other clubs, which is always helpful, and when we pulled something together with other members, so that's quite helpful. So should members have an issue in the future, we've got a very simple one-page process on how to deal with that, so quite straightforward.
Rob, what would you say in response to James's comments there? Is that an experience that a lot of affiliated clubs are having?
Yes, certainly. From the feedback we've had from this year, from 2024 affiliation renewal, it seems to be a really common theme that James has just explained. We've got some great phenomenal environments for people to go boating up and down the country. And they have great foundations in place to be able to support that activity, as Sarah's already mentioned. What this is aimed to do is to take that moment to pause for thought, to be able to review and really work alongside your peers, also working within other affiliated organisations, other clubs, and understand, well, how are other people approaching it? I think the really key thing that came out from James's comment is that what we end up with should be something that is usable by every single member within that affiliated organisation. Having a great, very detailed, many layered documented process is wonderful, but it needs to be distilled down to something that is usable on a day-to-day basis. That's something they've done a great job of.
Yeah, being able to use things on a day-to-day basis is so important. Sarah, you talked earlier about the fact that we're relying on these key people in a club, and the pressures of that is becoming increasing, and balancing that amongst professional life and then trying to volunteer is becoming increasingly difficult. How would you advise people to kind of deal with these kind of mounting pressures?
Yeah, it's a really good point, Liam, and it's really important that we recognise that. And so we've listened to the feedback from last year's process. We've extended the time frame by which we are going to expect our affiliates to have met the requirements. So it's now stretched out over a much longer period. And importantly, we are here to help. We're updating a lot of guidance, a lot of template documents, so that we can make the job easy. And as Rob was saying, it's very bespoke. So a club may find, a bit like, as James said, they've got quite a lot of what we would like them to have. It may just be one or two bits. So trying to take a really bespoke approach to it, a really supportive approach, provide as much templates and guidance as we can. And importantly, we're here to help. If you're really struggling with how to do this, don't struggle alone. Pick up the phone, send us an email. We want to help you through it.
I think that's welcome news to definitely hear that the RYA is here to support that. So my last question to James at Hollowell Sailing Club was what advice he would offer other affiliates going through this new process.
It's key to really to speak to members to gain the support. As a committee, there's Commodore and Secretary and Training Principal. That's a core group, but you have got wider members. So, and you often find that there are other members with particular expertise. Our welfare officer, for example, is a teacher with great experience in safeguarding. So I think that's certainly a place to go in terms of looking to other members' levels of support on some of the basic admin as well, just gaining some support. We have a principle here that nobody's isolated in their role. There's always support that they can gather, and the jobs shared are considerably easier. So I think it's well worth speaking to members. I think it's well worth speaking to the RYA team who are very helpful. The expertise is there, and speaking to other clubs as well.
Rob, we've had a few emails and comments on some of the social media channels about the affiliation portal. What advice would you give to people who are using this portal and struggling with it?
Well, firstly, we're here to help. So if people have got specific questions of how we help, please just get in touch with us. We've got an email address, affiliation@rya.org.uk, or you can pick up the phone to any of the team. We'll be here to support you. We also have a series of events coming up through the course of the autumn, the RYA Connected events, and there's one in every single one of the English regions and also the home countries around the UK. And during those events, we will have specific sessions on supporting each of the component parts of the affiliation process, but also how the portal actually works itself. We've also listened to the feedback we've had through last year's renewal, and so we've evolved the process through the affiliation portal to be a bit more intuitive, a bit more common sense as you go through it. It's all well and good on the design board, but when you start putting it to practice, it's a little bit different. So we've taken that feedback on board, and we will continue to evolve and progress with the feedback moving forwards.
That's brilliant. It's good to know that help can be face-to-face, because I know that if you're struggling online, the last thing you need is online support. So face-to-face support will definitely be welcomed. Sarah, we've seen a huge buzz from the Olympics. So just to change tack a little bit, a huge buzz from the Olympics and obviously the America's Cup going on at the minute. How can we use this to kind of inspire people further?
I think it's a great year for the spotlight to be being shone, first of all, on the dinghy racing and the boards through the Olympics, and incredibly proud of all our Olympians. And then now, of course, we're in the middle of the really big boat stuff, isn't it? And those are fast, furious machines, and so proud that nearly all of the sailors, both in the Ineos Britannia and in the Athena Pathway, have come through the British sailing team, but they all started out in clubs. They all started out learning to sail and getting in a boat and having that first experience and being supported by volunteers or instructors and coaches all the way through. So for me, it's a great opportunity to shine a spotlight on the different parts of our sport and really celebrate success. And, you know, all of us here at the RYA just wish Ben and Dylan and Hannah and everyone in all those teams all the very best over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, we're certainly supporting them. Yeah, good luck to Britannia. So yes, the RYA can help and guide us in lots of different ways. And as I mentioned at the start, the RYA wants to hear from you. So please do get in touch at ask@rya.org.uk. And don't forget to check out, as Rob and Sarah have both mentioned, the connected conferences, webinars and workshops coming up in the next couple of months. Sadly, we're out of time, but we've managed to cover some really interesting topics there in this short session. A big thanks to everyone who's been involved in putting together this year's RYA Connected Live. But most of all, thanks to you, not only for joining us this evening, but for your enthusiasm, passion and commitment to being out on the water. Our community of boaters are the soul of our sport, and it's something that the RYA want to remain true to. That's why we do need to keep talking to the RYA so that they represent our interests and we can get the best out of what we love, our time on the water. Thank you.